morning, free enterprise fans. Hello, it is I, Scala Kitty. I am here tonight with a very special announcement before we start tonight's community race. We've been so incredibly delighted by how much the channel and the community has grown after the football gauntlet, and we wanted to also take some time to show off some of the other wonderful things happening in our community. So we are very happy to announce that we're going to be adding an extra broadcast once a week here on the Free Enterprise channel, and we're calling it the Community Club Showcase. So if you don't know, there's actually a whole bunch of different racing clubs that exist in the Free Enterprise Discord. And basically make it so that way, pretty much any night of the week, there's some sort of race happening. And we've reached out to all the different club leaders. They've all given us this approval. So what we'll be doing from now on is we'll be having an extra race once per week here on the channel. Which club is featured is going to change every week, though. So the first one that we are going to have is going to be the Underground Racing Club. That happens on the first Tuesday of every month. And the very first club showcase will be tomorrow night. So tomorrow night we will be featuring the Underground Racing Club here. I believe it's just about like midnight. I believe it's 11:30 Eastern. So I hope that y'all will come in. For those of you who are on the West Coast, those of you who are night owls, come and join us for that. Then on the next one that we will be featuring, since y'all liked the drum roll, we will also then be featuring the Mycidian Jumping Club. That's going to be on the second Wednesday of every month. For all of you who enjoy push B to jump, Mycidian Jumping Club is only push B to jump races. So I think that is going to be a lot of fun to show off. The next one that we have will be the Lunar Racing Club. That will happen on the third Thursday of every month. So we'll have that. Lunar Racing Club and Underground Racing Club are very similar, but they both have a wonderful way for all of our top tier players to stay at their racing best all throughout the year. And then finally, we have, last but certainly not least, the Sunday Slapdash, which will be featured on the last Sunday of every month. What this does mean is we might have months like this one, for example, where there will be 1 week without races. So, for example, in June, so this week we will have Underground Race Club. Next week will be Mycidian Jumping Club. Week after that will be Lunar Racing Club. And then finally, there'll be a little week break, and then we'll have the Sunday Slapdash at the end of the month. So I hope you all will come and tune in. Also, small update, but definitely an important one, and I will definitely also post this link in chat. We also did revamp the Free Enterprise event calendar. We'll be working to make sure that is kept up to date, so that is a Google Calendar. If you would like to follow along, you can definitely go and subscribe to it, or just pull it up whenever you want. We'll be changing a bunch of stuff. Don't worry, all this is also going to be in the announcements in the Discord. So I hope you all will have yourselves a wonderful race. And tonight, and we'll come back and tomorrow night for our first one. Also, very special thank you to our dear partner Randomania. They will be the ones providing all of the backend, all of the restream layouts for all of this, and we couldn't do this without all of them. Also, if you are at all interested in joining our broadcast team, we will be putting some information about that in the announcement in the Discord, which I am going to go make like right after I'm done here. Thank you all for letting me take a little extra time here at the beginning of the race. You all are absolutely wonderful and fantastic. And I am going to turn it over to Allie and PK, and I'm going to let them call this race. So y'all have yourselves a great evening.
And thank you so much to Scala. I'm Allie. I'm joined here by PK. How are you doing tonight?
I am fantastic, and I'm a very big fan of that announcement. I don't think Scala mentioned it, but anyone on our Discord, if you're interested in more specifics about when those races occur, what the flags are on those races, anything like that, you can look at the pins in the race channel. It'll give you the flags, what time the races are. But yep, 11:30 Eastern tomorrow night is when the Underground Racing Club kicks off, so I guess someone will be broadcasting that, probably not us, but we've got a race right now, and these are very interesting flags, Allie.
Yeah, these are kind of rude. The big one is doors and behemoths are still on, so you will have encounters in the sealed cave and in cave value.
Yep, so required sealed cave, which means you are going to have to fight every one of those doors. Sealed cave, oftentimes somewhere that you go with the intention of resetting out of if it's not something that you want. But now not only do you have to go, but you have to take about 4 or 5 not easy fights for at least like a low to mid-level team.
And it looks like we have a Porum start. A little bit weak. Hopefully we have somebody who can help her out with some damage.
That's right, and we have Chocosura, KindaNerdyHousewife. Back up with what we would usually say off the open. I'm like half on the race and half excited about that announcement that Scala just made. And I believe we'll be kicking off here in just a second. There was an announcement in the race. We were kind of holding off. I believe we just started, so here we go. We'll get to see our second character. And running this is T Wild as well, so treasure is randomized, but it could be anything of any sort of value no matter where you look here. So very interesting to see what people find.
And we do start off with an Edward, not exactly who you want to see. Spoon Flag is enabled, but right now he is not putting out a whole lot of damage.
No, the spoon would be nice to have. At Porum Eddie, with this T-Wild, you might very well be relying on finding some items to get you through some of these early fights. Maybe a dancing dagger would be nice as well.
And as we saw at the beginning, we do have the 3 objectives. We need to fight the Fabul Gauntlet, we need to finish Bahamut's Cave, and finish Sealed Cave.
Yeah, so that Gauntlet hunt is by far the most random potential thing that we're looking for. We should, once we have the Darkness Crystal and the Magma Key, really the hunt's going to be for the Luca Key and for that Alt Gauntlet, or maybe it's the regular Gauntlet. I'm not sure. It's the Alt Gauntlet. I'm still looking through the flags. There's a lot going on here to take in one go.
We did see a Kane there in the Baron Inn. I'm sure our runners are happy to see him with T Wildish on, because you can get him some good gear in a...
Yeah, he hopefully should be joining the team relatively early. This will be interesting to just see where everybody chooses to go and how quickly, because your damage output is just not ideal here. Choco is looting those 3 chests in the back of Mist Village, which is unique, but Choco is someone who beats me in like every single async I've ever participated in, so I'm going to assume he knows what he's doing.
And he did find a ninja hat there in Mist, which is always a good find for any of your characters.
And the shops are on the pro setting, actually. So with T Wild and S Pro, checking the shops is maybe going to yield you some decent arrows, but really the chests and finding 1 or 2 good items in there is going to be what's going to get you going early in this game.
And it looks like there was a crystal sword down in the Damsian treasury. I guess that means we're not seeing a Cecil tonight.
KindaNerdyHousewife has a heroine robe, which, without a bow, isn't quite as strong. Although, no, there's a samurai bow there, too. I mean, there's a life staff and a heroine robe, which is a interesting combo for Porum for just maximum bonking.
And if we can get some good arrows for that Porum, she can be our early game DPS.
Yeah, heading up Hobbs. This is my first match since the Full Gauntlet, so this is like twice as many screens to try to pay attention to. So keeping this all together, and that looks like
that is a Quake kit.
Yeah. That's Mylon Z with Quake Kid. This also means that you will be able to cast Twin, which early game is very, very nice. Maybe loses a little bit of its luster, but an early Twin cast against most of these bosses is going to make it much, much quicker, as we see this flare coming out from KindaNerdyHousewife that doesn't do any damage. Darn it.
And we see that
Mylon absorbs that.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm through the flare, as we see from Gundam doing a lot more. I believe that Mylon is some sort of defense against that, or maybe it's gear based. But what were you saying about the Porum, Allie?
Porum is putting out a little bit of damage with that bonk stick on KindaNerdyHousewife's side.
The heroine robe, something you very well may not have seen if you have not run free enterprise, but that boosts the strength stat by 15. It does cost you a lot of your ability to cast white magic, but early game it's a huge benefit. And with somebody like a Rosa, who is also an archer, that leaves her doing just comparable damage to any other character in the game. The antlion here as well. Ooh.
That's a little rude.
Should
now,
be, yeah.
Coffee and Chocobos is being rewarded for not going and picking up that Palom right away, as he does not have to worry about Shadow Dragon eating one of his characters.
Yeah, I was going to say you actually would prefer having only 2 characters. It makes the cutscenes go faster. You can get up a Star Reveal quickly, and it looks like Coffee and Chocobo's Porum, whatever is equipped there, isn't even being falling victim to that hold spell. So should be able to get through this without a problem. Golbez here, no one here is incredibly dangerous, but Golbez is at least time consuming and annoying.
And we see that Coffee and Chocobos was able to get a Star Veil up on his Porum, so should make this fight a little bit easier and a little less scary.
Golbez then always ends up reflecting spells back at himself and then asking why he lost the fight. You would think maybe at some point you would come up with a better strategy than basically burning yourself down.
And we see an Artemis bow as our pickup there. Put that on that heroine robe Porum, and she is going to be doing damage galore.
Yeah, not a key item, but as far as with the gear that we were rocking, that is nearly the most ideal weapon you could pick up for that Porum with already having that heroine robe. We're also seeing KindaNerdyHousewife utilizing the Edward hiding, which is another way of avoiding getting eaten by that shadow. But everybody with the exact same routing, nobody wants to fade Antlion. I guess with this party, I can't necessarily blame them, given that your damage is still very, very much lacking at this point.
Yeah, all of our runners are probably worried about a hook route with these characters, and this is not who you want to go do hook with.
No, that will be a very nice addition, but with this party, I mean, that bow mixed with the heroine robe is going to be nice, but that second spot on in the Baron Inn is still potentially going to be something that's could be stopping them from getting through those fights.
And KindaNerdyHousewife is through her Golbez, while Chocosura takes down Mylon here on Mount Hob.
Basically, everyone's showing the strategy of some people prefer Hobbs first, some people prefer Antlion Cave first. Sometimes you want even that minute experience from Antlion before going up to Hobbs. But the Hobbs fight and finding Palom there will give Palom all of the level 2 spells, which is nice going forward as we see everybody just basically following the same route thus far, and we see Choco headed to Fabul. So this should be easier, a lot easier with Palom being able to cast spells. But still, I haven't found the greatest gear of all time, and definitely some hook characters, as you said, Allie, that are some hook bosses that could be very, very frightening if that's the route we have to take.
And we only see a Dark Knight Cecil there in the waterfall taking a shower.
Not who we're looking for. Someone in chat said, hopefully that gauntlet is at the Ogopogo spot. There are a couple very mean places for that gauntlet to be, but I'm either hoping it's somewhere very mean or somewhere entirely out of the way, and not on the immediate pathing that we see so far from these different runners.
And Valvolus is the boss guarding Fabul.
Speaking of difficult fights, Porum with those 2 items can at least do some quantifiable damage, but this is not going to be fast, even though it's 2,000 hit points or so here. But through it, so good for Coffee and Chocobos. They've been absolutely crushing it in races recently, so I'm interested to get to watch him play as well.
And the king seems to be holding today a darkness crystal. That is spicy.
Yeah, that is very spicy. That gives access to at least one of the 3 objectives insofar as you have to get through this Cape Bahamut, but those the required behemoth fights are definitely going to be too difficult for the team as far as we have it right now. Character check. I know I would be hoping for maybe an edge, maybe just anybody that could do damage right now. Ellie, I'm a little sad right now if I'm rocking this Porum with the bow is all I've got.
Our players are probably hoping for either a Fusoya or a Tella, which opens up a great grind on the Giant.
That's very true. The Giant is now available with that Darkness Crystal. What our underground access is going to be. So right now we have Ordeals and that Baron Inn fight remaining to see at least what the direction is to get underground. And KindaNerdyHousewife headed up Ordeals, so we'll be gathering some more information here. This is a tough team to take up ordeals. That back attack spot. At least you know Valvalis cannot be blocking underground access, although she was blocking the moon access, so...
Yeah, this is not the team that you would preferably bring up ordeals, but that Murder Porum could probably get through these spots fairly quickly if she can stay alive.
The damage is nice. I'm not sure what different types of arrows you have, but if you have some options depending on boss is, and that was a defense sword that KindaNerdyHousewife picked up, so when she does get that cane, that is basically Kane's strongest weapon. So Kane will be online pretty quickly here.
And we see an edge up here on the lunar dais. That is the kind of character you want to see early.
Yeah, that moves the game forward pretty quickly. I don't think Dark Elf is going to be too big of a problem for Kinda Nerdy, but the back attack spot is usually the thing that frightens people at this juncture, going up here with a team of this ability. But Edge is quite the pickup early, particularly for these types of seeds.
Well, and PK, did you see who was sleeping in that bed?
I missed it, Allie. Who's sleeping in that bed?
That would be a Fusoya. So if they find a Sand Ruby, they've got everything they need to take on Zeromus.
That's very, very nice information to have for Choco, and I don't think anyone else has checked that. And that edge up on the moon means those are the two typically gated characters, and we know where they are. Is for this back attack spot. As far as watching these races and commentating, the back attack spot is always the most intriguing one to me because of the potential for something rude, similar to the second spot in Baron Inn, depending on equipment at least. Oh, there's our Wyvern.
Wyvern. And this lets Coffee and Chocobos know that the Mount Ordeals has to hold progression for underground.
That is correct. Wasn't even kind enough to let us see what the Witchburn was. The flag is on where Wyvern has a random spell instead of casting Mega Nuke. And it is... it's a stone cast.
That's a little rude. And we see a French vanilla Mylon up here in the back attack spot. Not too scary here. Really just got to get those gas down and then take Mylon down himself.
Yep, this is one of those spots where you're hoping for, or you were hoping to have one of those J items, Palom with the Fire 2. Also going to be able to burn them down. Not too bad. You know, when you end up skipping a check that turns out to be a Darkness Crystal, it turns out to be an edge. As far as commentating and watching, you always hope that the back attack spot in particular isn't something that's going to slow you down too much. And this is not one of those fights that, you know, the Odins or things of that nature that are really just, you got to turn around and go find something else to do.
And it looks like from that Baron Inn spot, we did get the Earth Crystal, so that is potential for 2 more characters. But again...
Really, Earth Crystal... The Treasury is now in play, which I absolutely love, Allie, not to jump in there.
Yeah, with T Wildish, you're going to get some good stuff down here. But that Earth Crystal cannot be blocking the only way underground, as Wyvern was one of those bosses that cannot be gating underground access.
So KindaNerdy gonna give us a look, hopefully. This Mylon fight appears to be going smoothly enough. I mean, Palom, I like the use of the Star Veil to reflect the lightnings. And Palom should have the MP to get through this, so that's well done there. Choco grabbing the edge, and let's see.
I'm not loving this. I'm going to give that a 2 out of 10 for a T Wildish treasure.
Yep, the Zeus Gauntlet will go well with edge. And I mean, you can give Eddie the dancing dagger, but yeah, as far as treasuries go in recent races that we've seen, that definitely was not what you would be hoping for.
And
there is the magnet key. Yep. No hook route. We can hope for the old gauntlet being there, but that's going to be immediate access underground, which will be nice for KindaNerdy here.
And chat letting us know that it is actually T Wild, not T Wild-ish. Thank you for letting us know. There is a difference. I'm not 100% sure what it is.
T Wildish is similar to the T Pro setting in that the easier to access treasure will have slightly worse goods, but T Wild means that any chest in the game could hold any particular item, excluding, I guess, the adamant, which
you can't have anything. And KindaNerdyHousewife taking down those Kaipo guards up there in the crystal room. Not where you'd like to see them. You'd like to see them in a much harder location, but has her magma key and will likely be our first runner to go underground.
Yeah, and given the levels and the characters you have, I wouldn't be surprised to see her go, maybe make the Fame Arch check, but then, go Sheila 1 and go maybe back to Fabul, which will get you that Darkness Crystal, or, you always want to see them get sort of those more valuable items in a similar time frame. While I don't think the lack of that edge has been an issue thus far.
And I did just see Gundampilotspaz picking up a second Artemis bow there in the Watery Pass. So if we find any character, Rosa, another Porum, can slap that on them and they will just go to town.
Eddie can use that bow for the meantime, I guess. I'm sure everyone is still hoping to find some sort of spoon. But Death Crystal, Coffee and Chocobos up here has made it through the first boss, it looks like, and we'll get some more characters.
And we see a Yang in the Betrayer spot. And is that a Baigen that's going to be guarding underground in the Dwarf Castle?
Baigen's second spot, Dwarf Castle, actually isn't the worst place to locate or to have to fight Baigen. You can usually get Quake, particularly already having one Quake kid, but that's a Porum and a Yang. I personally would take the Yang, but that's just because I love the Thunderclaw.
And it looks like Coffee and Chocobos is happy with his team right now and discards both that Yang and that second Porum.
The other hand, in the top left, you're buying 80 mute arrows, so Seems like maybe putting a lot of stock in having to run those bows for quite some time moving forward.
And up on KindaNerdyHousewife side, we did see a package in the free spot in the Fey March. Not required, but it can gate a really nice character.
It does gate a character, and the package boss is always the most subtle place for someone to be hiding. Which we are still on the hunt for the alt gauntlet, and we are also on the hunt. There are so many flags. I'm still trying to check. There's no free key item, I believe, so we haven't seen Derek missed either. So the package is a very clever spot for one of them to be hanging out as well.
Hidden D-Mist there in the package spot is always a terrible troll.
Fun from the watching standpoint, but you hate to run all the way through a seed and then realize that it's been at the package the whole time.
And I did not see what Coffee and Chocobos got. Oh, he got these sand rubies. So Coffee and Chocobos going to go see what's over there, is going to be greatly surprised with that Fusoya.
Yeah, of all the people, particularly not having made this check and going into it blind, finding a Fu is like opening a big gift on Christmas Day. Not going to be 100% online, but Coffee is not done ordeals yet, so the Fu is just going to very quickly be picking up levels.
And we see some pretty rude bosses down here in the Fey March. That is Octomammoth and either Rubicant or Element.
Yeah, that Octo very hard and very quickly at the onset of that fight. Depending on your anchor and a few things, you will be able to get through it, but certainly not currently. Or you don't want to take that risk at this time.
Yeah, but it is one of those fights that can be cheesed with a moon veil, so if our players do find one of those, either from a boss reward or just in one of these random chests, that fight is then free.
That is true, and with T-Wild, moon veils are as likely to be out there as anything else. Is going to make the next new development for us, I believe. Kind of nerdy is on with the Sheila 1 check, hopefully getting over to Fabul. Should be doing the Sheila 1 check, which will be, I think, the first new bit of information as we see some players backtracking. And yeah, just to circle back, tomorrow there will be another race broadcast here. Ellie, are you familiar with the Underground Racing Club?
I know that it's 11:30 at night. It's the late one. But I think there'll be more details in the announcement that Scala Kitty is going to be putting on our Discord.
So that is late. The flags are very similar to the bracket flags. It is a very fun race. Oftentimes there are a lot of cookies on the line and a lot of great people participating. So if you were up late, or I guess depending on your time zone, there's that to look forward to. And I'm excited. Whether I'm not always up that late, but I would happily turn that on if that happens to be the case.
And Coffee and Chocobos actually just gave us a very interesting piece of information. That Fusoya does already have nuke, so this is going to be a quick climb up the mountain.
Is it beefy Fu for early game? And I'm hoping to see KindaNerdy get through this fight because I'm really intrigued to see what Shield 1 has, if that's going to be progression. Because otherwise we're looking at Castle, maybe No Key Tower, one of those Fey March bosses, because we need the Luca key. And we need to find the alt gauntlet somewhere, as well as making it through the behemoths and into that value cave.
Well, and there is always the moon that is open to our runners, and all of our value could be up there. Not that you'd want to take this party up there, but it could be.
And we've seen one of our quote-unquote free fights in the guards. There are very few that you would be comfortable fighting, although that Fu, he has weak will, be able to go, and we very well might see that machine grind coming from Coffee and Chocobos, depending on where he decides to go.
Yeah, with an early grind on D machines, that can just kind of steamroll through a seed after that.
Choco getting the very, very subpar news that the vaunted treasury has less than great equipment you've become so accustomed to seeing. Kind of nerdy with this Sheila 1 check. Initial progression now has the darkness crystal, so I would assume is going to go up and grab that edge. And this is going to be our first real new check here.
And only a dragon lance. Well, a very nice lance for Kane. Not progression.
Not progression at all, but that would hopefully steer her towards grabbing that edge and picking up that cane. So I think the runners are going to be in very, very similar positions, even if the way or the ordering of where they went was slightly different. Choco dropping the key, Coffee and Chocobos dropping the key, much to the chagrin of the town's members.
And KindaNerdyHousewife raising the great whale. And Gundampilotspaz heading back into the Baron Inn has gotten a few more levels and feels like he's ready to take on this fight.
That cane, if this is me and I'm Gundam, I'm eyeing that cane very, very aggressively. He will, with a few pieces of gear and a couple levels, very, very, very much speed up the remainder of this seed.
And we see Chocosura dipping into Dwarf Castle while Coffee and Chocobos is going to go check his freebies in the Fey March. And KindaNerdyHousewife heading up to the moon.
Yep, and maybe for our viewers who are slightly less familiar with some of these additional flags that we have for this race, Ellie, can you maybe explain why you can't just go into Cave Bahamut to check the boss?
Well, there are flags that, well, in the base game, for those of you who've played that, you have to fight 3 behemoths before you can get to Bahamut. There is a flag in Free Enterprise that turns those encounters on and off. And tonight, those flags are turned on, so you do still have to fight those 3 behemoths to get down there.
Yep, so it is the opposite of free. Those behemoths hit very, very hard. You typically get through them, but you just time and the effort will not be worth it until you can put out a decent amount of damage. Eddie with the spoon, with his defense sword after a few levels, but it's certainly not in a rush to go in there, whereas typically you might just run in and see if that's a free boss. And speaking of free bosses, Choco has found King and Queen Evelyn at the first spot in Dwarf Castle.
And looks like Chocosura believes it is faster to just bring down the king and queen rather than letting them go through their whole script.
It's a sad story when they don't even get to feel remorse for casting these fire spells on you and betraying their son, but it does take a little bit of time to sit through and wait for them to come to that realization. Choco did decide against going up the Earth Crystal. We know that was Yang and another Purim, but more importantly, that Sand Ruby that came from that, the Coffee and Chocobos got the Who, which, who is a huge character as far as where we're at in this seed.
And we do see that Baigan here at the second spot. If you're gonna see him, this is where I'd like him.
Yeah, can be one of the more rude bosses in the wrong location. This, although, does not have that much as far as hit points is concerned. So not a terrifying spot at all, as we see Choco gets through that in about 3 inputs.
And we have a creepy hand walking around. We'll see what our key item around Luca's neck is today.
Yeah, I mean, as weird as that hand is, I always wondered, why didn't they just go up and grab it and put it away? Just take whatever it was that was up there, but I guess you got to move the plot forward somehow, and there is the warp glitch anyway. Let's not turn down here.
And we have some kitchen utensils around the small child's neck, which will be nice for Chocosura, as he has not gone and spoken to that Yang yet.
That is 3 checks. The only one we have seen is the Sheila 1 that we know is that Dragoon Lance, but all things considered, you are operating with a cane in your group, so not the worst thing to see with 2 other potential key items available as well. And will we get seed validation from Choco here?
Biomedical equipment technician. Very nice job today.
Run validated, and Choco with 2 awesome moons. That edge, along with a Zeus Gauntlet, is going to be putting out the damage. And thank you, Choco, for that seed validation. We always appreciate that.
And was definitely rewarded for going in there with that Masamune.
Yep, that edge now has the potential of winning a fair number of fights. I also saw a Thunderclaw in Choco's inventory, so I mean, Octomom, if you get some good RNG off the beginning, you might be willing to even at least consider that fight with that edge.
And KindaNerdyHousewife gonna get the disappointing news about the not great gauntlet, while Coffee and Chocobos is going to show us the Pan Smack. Which has one of my favorite sound effects in the whole game.
Gundam, it looks like, is underground as well, so we know that the package is there. In the Fey March, we haven't seen, I don't think, maybe chat can correct me, anyone checking the package character or the boss. Typically not something people are willing to do the later Seed gets. Still, haven't seen the alt Gauntlet be there.
And only some Artemis arrows, which goes great with those Artemis bows.
Sheila too. Now the only potential for Sheila to have the goods, maybe the not having taken Yang when you had the chance with the Earth Crystal, is making Sheila a little more reticent to hand out anything of particular value. But Sheila too, fingers crossed for some sort of progression here.
Sheila giving us the pass. Not a key item, but will make endgame much easier if you end up on Earth.
Yeah, that Fu, along with having the pass, is maybe making the moon look slightly more appealing. The only checks for Coffee and Chocobos on the blue planet would be the No Key Tower. We're trying to take on one of those two Fey March bosses.
And it looks like he wants none of that and is heading towards the moon.
And we see Choco has exited out of the Fey March. So we'll also be left with a very similar choice after making these pan checks. Coffee and Chocobos going to be the first one to put potentially on display what these behemoth fights look like. The new Fu will be full as far as burning down these behemoths. But you're gonna have to get links up on anyone really that you want to survive. So relative patience is incredibly important for these behemoth fights.
These fights, for me as a kid, I didn't understand the concept of counterattacks and would quickly wipe my party.
Not sure how I got through them, but I at least until I started running this, I didn't realize that they were a part of this. I thought they were just random encounters, and now that I do know this, I'm very angry with whoever decided that was going to have to happen. He's reaching the first behemoth encounter across this bridge here. So this is number one.
And a question in chat, isn't it casting nuke on a behemoth bad? It is actually when you cast Meteo or White, he will counterattack with Storm, which brings you down to single-digit HP for all of your party members. Which is bad. You don't want to do that.
No, not the ideal position to find your team in at any point. I'm sure, again, playing vanilla as a child, I ran into that. As you see that counter attack in Kane for 1700. Looks like relying potentially on working edge, which with that Zeus Gauntlet, I'm not sure Coffee and Chocobos has both of those Masamoons, but very good play. But as you see, you need those blinks up, and that board face AI just does not like edge right now, or it does not like the Kane right now.
Yeah, going straight for the character that doesn't have the blink spell up.
Choco not having done that Earth Crystal check, looks like making his way up the tower. The NerdyHousewife also heading up the tower. Going to get that Sand Ruby, hopefully going to make that character check. We know Choco knows that that's a Fu. So once you get that Sand Ruby, at least Choco, that's an immediate plan over to pick up that party member. You know, I personally have gotten a Sand Ruby without having checked the character and just decided, whatever. If it's a foo, then I'm just going to be in a bad place.
And KindaNerdyHousewife does take that cane, the first of our runners to do so, I believe.
And the young,
I'm sorry, the young, not the cane. Words.
I'm happy. Young is, for me, a very favorable character. If you have the right equipment as well as some decent levels, that punch command might be relatively valuable for that behemoth fight as well.
And Gundampilotspaz fighting one of the biggest bosses in Free Enterprise, the inventory boss.
We all lose that fight. And I believe some people in chat are discussing this. Coffee and Chocobos, with being able to get through these fights, it's also a very good chunk of XP. If you're not interested in going up to the giant and doing, the D-machine grind for all the levels all at once, have ability to cast Blink. You have somebody you can do a decent clip of damage. This is actually something like the Sunday Slapdash, which will now be broadcast periodically. You do see people do as a way to gain XP moving forward once you have moon access.
And we see Gundampilotspaz, having gotten his Dragoon Spear and taken down his Valvalis, now has his Darkness Crystal.
So the question will be, now that we see Choco finishing up Earth, KindaNerdy has also finished up Earth. Will either of them challenge the March bosses? There's the top of tower also remaining, as well as anywhere on the moon that you like to go. Not that it's super appealing at this point, but hopefully from a viewing standpoint, we'll get to see some divergence and get on KindaNerdy to go and immediately check this character at the Sand Ruby. She will be certain he's defined that it is the better of the two grumpy old men in this game.
And Coffee and Chocobos coming up against the last of the three behemoths. He will be the first runner to show us what is here at the Bahamut altar. Is it going to be a required boss, or is it just going to be a required altar?
Yeah, and the Luca key is still out there somewhere at large, as well as the alt gauntlet. So, as well as checking off one of those three objectives, there is the potential of picking up an item. This is an interesting play, though, because you've gone through all three of these fights. Do you go right up and fight the boss there, or are you gonna quickly exit out, make a save, and then comfortably walk back without having to take any of these fights?
Personally, I would exit out and save, but I'm also not very good.
I would do the same. I've underestimated this spot before. This is not. It could be a very painful reset. I've done some, gold dragon grinds here into thinking there's no way I could lose to whoever this boss is, and then just cry and go somewhere else afterwards.
And both Chocosura and KindaNerdyHousewife have picked up their Fusoyas.
And now we get to see what their decision is. We will soon get to see if there's more value besides the objective in the value cave. KindaNerdy headed back underground. Actually, I don't think she's done Earth Castle, so that's a logical choice. It's good experience, and as we know, particularly with that foo, that Baigan is not going to be an issue, and the king and queen also.
That's a turtle. And that's not a good place for the turtle.
That is a winnable fight. I would heal up. If you get enough damage off before the first wave, you can be fine. Thunderclaw, Zerk someone up, but that first punch hitting the wrong person can easily lead to some very, very precarious situation.
And as Ralthian in chat points out, the melee damage in that spot is one of the highest in the game. So not even worrying about the wave, those punches are going to hurt hard.
Yep, and Blaze, Coffee and Chocobos completed the behemoths and then exited out, who I think Fu's MP back, as well as maybe just take a deep breath before going into this fight. An interesting play from Choco up here as well. We see him taking this alert fight in the tower to grab sirens, which is a very nice way in this T-Pro setting to still be able to use the sirens and those rare encounters to gain levels. We'll see where he chooses to do it, but also actually you probably don't need to equip the Thunderclaw with that edge, but the Thunderclaw will make it so you can one-shot those alerts as well.
And we get to see the very rare use of the Porum Cry. It helps fluster the enemy.
That is true. I potentially forget that's even available as an option. You do love to see at least, once in a blue moon somebody finds a use out of that command, because of all of those J commands, bluff and punch. That is by far one that apparently they just never really discovered what the uses were for it, at least logistically.
And Coffee and Chocobos did get through that first big wave from Knazo and is putting out the damage, so that should kind of decrease the amount of damage this next wave is going to do.
Yep, I believe from what I've been watching on this, should be okay moving forward. There's Kainatsu shell-shocked here. That's very well done. That can be incredibly frustrating fight if you're not 100% prepared. I believe I saw him turn the battle speed down to 3, which is definitely something I would also strongly consider doing, given that it's Kainatsu and you have to do this. I didn't have to do this spot. I probably would have just potentially left, carried on living my life. But very well played by Coffee and Chocobos. Let's see if there's a decent reward here.
And only a Zeus Gauntlet. Not a key item that he would like to see, but he is through that battle and doesn't have to worry about Knazo somewhere else on the moon.
Yeah, the real value and cave value was the experience you got along the way, as well as getting to check off that third objective. But we are now still on the hunt for the Luca key, and it looks like Choco at the top of the tower has found double value. Derek missed, decided to hide there along, right out there in plain sight, had it been a hook route.
And this is a little bit of an annoying fight, as this spot does have, I believe it's about 21,000 hit points.
Yeah, barring having that foo with nuke, this could have been a very long fight. The foo will make it faster, but you're probably still going to have to sit through at least one turned into mist, as we see here on Choco's screen.
And KindaNerdyHousewife has smacked Yang with a pan and gets her Artemis arrows, while Gundampilotspaz is finishing up the tower. We'll hopefully go and check that character from the Sand Ruby and get his Fusoya.
That foo is really gonna move things along, particularly as we've seen he's gonna come pre-packaged with nuke. Choco, let's see what the reward is here. That's the hook. Oh, not immediately the most valuable thing you could get. Coffee and Chocobos appears is taking some fights on the way down.
It's actually the Gauntlet.
Ooh. And that is that the Murasame altar, Ali?
Yeah, it's the Pale Dim altar. I always get the two swords confused.
Okay, the Pale Dim spot. So that is value. So at least up here in the booth, we are looking for the Luca key. There's no easy package or route required to find this alt gauntlet. And Coffee and Chocobos, top down, not always the route that you see. This will also, like those behemoths, is going to get him a lot of XP, as well as completing 2 out of the 3 objectives and only needing the Luca key as far as being in go mode.
And as chat points out, there are several fights in this batch of gauntlet fights that are vulnerable to instant death.
That is the spoon from the D-Mist at the top of tower. 2 additional key items for Choco. Does not have the Eddy in tow, but I don't think buy flag is on, so can pick up Eddy if you want to. He's pretty valuable with that as far as going into and facing those behemoths.
And looks like he is trying to make a decision if he does want that Eddy or not, but is deciding, it looks like, to go and check the shop and character down here in Cave Evelyn.
Well, this would be new information. We know where the alt gauntlet is. This usually could be checking sort of an out-of-the-way fight, as well as you mentioned, Allie, getting that character. These red giants, on the other hand, are not not the easiest fight to get through. The alt gauntlet in various spots on the moon is very different. And there are always at least 1 or 2 fights that can be quite frustrating to get through.
And Chocosura picking up a dwarf axe and has now back row glitched his cane. Would you like to explain the back row glitch, PK?
So in the vanilla game, if one has a weapon equipped, such as a bow or the dwarf axe, which you throw, it allows them to do the same amount of damage from the front row as the back row. But you also take decreased attack damage when you are in the back row Unfortunately, or obviously not by design, but basically once you've equipped a weapon that you can use from the back row, no matter what you have equipped after that, you will do the same damage from the front row or the back row. So we call it back row glitching because it gives you the opportunity to have characters attack with a sword or a spear or whatever it might be from the back row and not have to do decreased damage.
Thank you for that explanation. And we have picked up a Sid. A little late to the party. We'll see if Chocosura decides, nope, doesn't want the Sid.
That's goodbye, Sid. Kind of nerdy. Making a good play here, in my opinion, following in a similar track as Coffee and Chocobo is going to use these behemoths because you have to fight them anyway to gain XP moving into at what we know at least is the not so in the Bahamut spot. The big question, I guess, here is going to be, will this gauntlet lead to a key item, or are we still going to be on the hunt for that Luca key?
We gotta start seeing some key items soon, as we're kind of running out of places for them to be.
That is very true. We have only not seen the Fey March and these moon locations, and we are missing a fair few key items. This hook, Choco, I believe, made the check just to see if the alt gauntlet was in a sneaky little spot, but a hook not going to lead to a key item. Only the spoon from the Mist. So we have check and the or lower lunar subterranean checks remaining as far as where we can find a multitude of key items.
And it looks like Gundampilotspaz is taking on some of these easier fights to go ahead and get his foo powered up. Judging by the HP, it looks like he does already have Nuke, so may just be hoping for possibly Cure 4.
Yeah, depending on where you're going after this, I mean, these are quick fights either way. This is a very commonly seen strategy. Knowing that you have moon access and you got to do those behemoths, you might just want even just additional hit points on your Fusoya before you decide that's the play you're going to make. KindaNerdyHousewife takes a look at the Kinatsu, see if she's just healing up before taking it. Looks like Coffee and Chocobos might be the final fight of that gauntlet.
And only getting an Avenger, which for that Kane is going to be very, very nice. And it looks like Gundampilotspaz may be giving us a D-Machine grind.
Yeah, I guess looking for the weak spell on Fu, which this will get Gundam up to very, very nice levels. We know where the alt gauntlet is, so the elements in the CPU spot are not going to be of any value. We've seen Derek miss too. So Coffee and Chocobo is now heading down to the lunar subterranean. KindaNerdyHousewife saw the K not so and said that she's not so interested in that. Cha. And it looks like he's headed to the gauntlet, so Nerdy gonna check off one of these objectives, and Coffee and Chocobo is gonna be the one showing us some new information.
And it looks like Chocosura is taking on some random encounters to get more experience on his characters. May want that just to have enough HP to survive the initial wave from K Naso.
And those Artemis arrows, having that, or he found the Siren, so he called up those double dragons, but those Artemis arrows, as you saw, are essentially one-shotting the gold dragons, which you love to see if you know that you have to take these behemoth fights coming up.
And it looks like Gundampilotspaz has found the correct encounter, and will start on his grind.
And Kinda Nerdy is... These fights are by no means free when you run into this all gauntlet on the moon. Some places are definitely meaner than others, but she has Cure 3s, she is a Foo, she's got... Quack Kid has Quack. Well, hopefully gets through this.
And Coffee and Chocobos finding a mom bomb here on the moon. Not too terrible to see them here, as especially if they Avenger glitch their cane, could probably get the big puffed up form killed before it explodes into 6 little bombs.
That edge has good levels. Zeus Gauntlet, I would assume at least one Masamune. So that Zerked Edge, Zerked Cane with the Defense Sword and the Zeus Gauntlet, you can get out a lot of damage in a short period of time. We'll see. You can probably beat Mother Bomb to the split, but even if the explode in the split, that would just be some additional time lost. This is going to be the tough fight here for Kinda Nerdy. These two red giants do that emission, and you really want not only to, taking this fight is half the battle. The other half is having your team up, because there is that double gold dragon fight that's going to be following up after this. So one big thing to always keep in mind when you end up running into a tough all gauntlet is it's not over even when you beat one rough boss. You got more on the way, so you have to try to be looking forward as well. And did you see what the rewards were there from that an altar?
I did not. Did chat, did y'all see what was there in the ribbon altar?
It's a power shirt.
A Cecil starter kit, but no Cecil.
And here comes Water Hag at the White Spear altar. That, fortunately, wouldn't be too difficult to get through with these levels. As I'm over here rooting for Nerdy to pass these red giants. I have taken some wipes to these guys. They do not play around.
And we do want to do a big shout out to the people helping behind the scenes. Our tracker tonight, Leggy Starscream, keeping us on point for when we're not watching what we should be, and Smapedy for making all the screens come up and all the sounds sound great.
Yes, big thank you to our tracker and our restreamer for doing all of the real work behind the scenes. As once again, I did not see if there was anything of value. Was that perhaps the rat tail from the White Sphere?
I believe it was one of the tails. It was the rat tail, per Leggy. And we see that KindaNerdyHousewife has gotten one of these red giants down, just trying to get that second one down.
Digging deep into the inventory, very nice to have those Cure 3s. And Hopefully, not only does she get through this, but she gets through with enough left in the tank to get through the. I think next one is the final fight, which is those dragons. And there is our taste of vanilla as well on Coffee and Chocobo's screen.
Honestly, if you're going to see Ogopogo on the moon, his home is probably not too bad, although he does hit like a truck.
Yeah, Ogopogo on the moon, ever nice. It's not the worst spot. When you have a berserker-like edge, it's a little less scary just because you can focus on healing and you don't have to put out too many spells. Yeah, those punches are no joke.
And KindaNerdyHousewife had found a Hourglass 2 somewhere and has stopped all of the enemies on screen. That'll give her a few minutes to kind of get her bearings, get everybody back up, and then take on the rest of the gauntlet.
Well, that is a fantastic play there, and saving that, getting through that previous fight, that takes some real faith to know you can get through those red giants and then know that you can make the next one free before I believe I guess there's this following one is the 2 gold. Very well played.
And Gundampilotspaz finding another young up here in the giant. This would be a free fight if we had that Cecil that the game has decided they're not going to give us.
Oh, maybe Cecil's sitting up there past the giant. If I had a crystal sword, I might be more interested in seeing who that giant character is. We haven't seen the package character check, but yeah, I believe, Ellie, you know as well as I do that the better the swords you find for somebody, the less likely they are to ever actually appear in the seed.
So with that Excalibur, that means that progression for all of the key items remaining is through the Feymark.
We've seen the
I've not seen Wyvern Spot, so maybe progress at Wyvern Spot?
Well, we can hope, or we can hope not. I'm fine with it either way. I'm really hoping that this is the Twin Harp, or that in some way, shape, or form the Twin Harp is required, because I'm just hoping we get music tonight.
Yes, a little bit of music would be fantastic.
Choco over here taking on Natso has gotten through the behemoths. Gundam finished up the grind, now headed to Dwarf, and KindaNerdyHousewife on the final bit of this gauntlet will get the news that while it is a required fight, it's not going to lead to any potential progression here, but looks like she got a second week off. Should be able to get through this, no problem. As Palom hits for 8 damage to finish off the second gold dragon. GG's, Palom.
And here we have a French vanilla plague. Not too scary of a fight. And I believe Coffee and Chocobos has it set up so that the timer will never reach 0.
Yep, and it looks like doing nearly enough damage to not be an issue, although ooh.
And only finding the legend sword.
So that's the commentator's curse, Allie.
So
As you were
that
saying.
means that means that either it's the 3 keys and then the adamant. So all have to lead into each other.
Which is interesting because there is the rat tail, and we know that the only way you're going to turn in that rat tail is by doing the keyless power, or the Feymarch could lead to one of the keys. The rat tail is hanging out there as a potential key item as well, just Coffee and Chocobos has not yet acquired the hook, so can't turn that in.
That is true. If Coffee and Chocobos does pick up their hook and turns in that rat tail, it could lead to one of our missing key items.
Great levels. As of the past, when I pick up the pass early, I never feel bad clearing the moon, even if you don't find much of anything on the moon, because I would say Coffee and Chocobos is basically at the XP levels of being ready to go to Zeromus once you find that Luca key, and shouldn't have to struggle with those trapdoors either, which are kind of a hilarious fight in my opinion.
And we'll see which of these bosses Coffee and Chocobos feels the most comfortable taking on as their first fight.
Yep, as Raytheon is pointing out, March Odin spot will potentially have key items, but we have not seen the Aaron key yet. There is the potential for a decently long chain leading into that Luca key, and Coffee and Chocobos, at least the one giving us new information here. I'm kind of nerdy after beating that gauntlet, as I'm assuming the levels and the confidence to not be too concerned about taking on that Kainatsu. So it actually kind of potentially nice routing to gain that additional XP for going into this Kainatsu. It's not a joke in that spot, that's for sure.
And taking on the Octomammoth first, not a fun boss. Hits like a truck in this spot, but more hits you get on him, the less speed he has, and the easier it gets.
Although I'm going to have to deduct a few points from Coffee and Chocobos for not using the Thunderclaw. As we all know, you can equip the Thunderclaw, and it would do bonus damage to Octo, and it's the best weapon in the game. Octomom does not mess around with those punches. 1900 against Edge. That is mean.
But does get through with all 5 of his characters alive. Gets a nice bit of experience. And the key item is the Luca key. Coffee and Chocobos is now in go mode. Just has to do that Luca cave and fight Zeromus.
Oh, so that is a lot of potential rabbit holes out there. We'll see potentially Choco as the only one with that hook. A-check Rat Tail first. And now that we know where the Luca key is, everything else is going to point you in the wrong direction. Well, we all know the Mute Dagger is a distant fourth to number 1 Thunderclaw, 2 Thunderclaw, and 3 Thunderclaw. Now maybe Allie, if you want to explain what we're about to see here, because typically you see people dead sprint through this area, but something very similar to the Behemoths coming up here.
Yes, tonight trapdoors are also turned on, so you have to go through every one of those trapdoors to get your get your way to the Luca Cave.
These are fun little fights. Trapdoor is going to cast this search and then inevitably, potentially, basically stop one member of your team. There are a few strategies for getting through it, but none of them are very fun.
And these trapdoors do give quite a bit of experience, so will give a little bit more of a mini grind, although I believe Coffee and Chocobos has enough levels on his characters that he's really not too worried about getting much more experience.
I would say that, this is because you have to do it anyway. It's a nice little boost. The Palom and the Furum, I believe, are just a few levels away from having those final nuke and white spells. So this is potentially foregoing some other grind. But you got that edge, you got that Fu, that Kane with the just Gauntlets. Probably just, you're getting anxious at this point. You're in go mode, and you're just hoping that you manage to get this done before anybody else.
Well, and Coffee and Chocobos may be a little worried since he did do all those fights on the moon and didn't get a whole lot of value other than the 2 required fights. Might be feeling a little bit behind.
Yeah, with that Octomom there the whole time, I mean, as we saw, Octomom was going to punch pretty hard. But was potentially doable after a certain number of levels. So I'll keep an eye out on the race room on the Discord, but we haven't seen any duns come in yet. So if I'm having to take those trapdoor fights, I'm just like, come on, let's get this over with, and let's get to the big boy.
And it looks like KindaNerdyHousewife is about ready to go fight that Kenazo. Finished up her last behemoth, while Chocosura is dipping farther into the moon.
Yep, Choco gonna dive down. We'll see. Nerdy has finished Gauntlet as well as Choco has, so I mean, it's a 100% understandable play to want to full clear the moon. It has the most available key items, and that is unfortunately the Twin Harp. I don't think Coffee and Chocobos is going to be enough to forgo the Z fight to play some music for us.
And that is an Ashura. She is going to move very quickly.
Yeah, not the largest amount of XP in this location, but she's not the fast fight that you're looking for when you are in go mode. So I would be a little frustrated to have to cast this wall and only cast Quake when you got nukes just standing by.
But is going through this fight, and on KindaNerdyHousewife's screen did survive that first big wave. And it looks like Gundampilotspaz has just finished his second behemoth.
Yep, so they are bearing down onto that. Not so. Gundam just got first look, apparently, at who the boss is going to be. And up, so probably just comfortable enough with the levels to keep going. And here we go. That is the crystal for Coffee and Chocobos. Also has the pass in hand. So going to hightail it out of this sealed cave.
And I do believe that we're getting to the point in the broadcast where we have a very important question we ask. Would you like to do the honors this evening?
Well, if you insist, Allie, I believe the question in hand is, but are we going to be kicking tonight?
That is correct. And Zeromus is, of course, the final boss of Final Fantasy IV, and he's just a little bit too hard to mix in with the final boss pool, but we didn't want to let him out of the randomizer. So our very talented Scala Kitty and some by Boardface have created some different sprites, some different looks for our Zeromus. So we'll see what kind of clothes he's wearing tonight.
Yeah, and this is interesting position for Coffee and Chocobos. I'm assuming you go right to Zeromus here, but so close to Nuke. Not sure if White is there on Porum either, but very close to being able to just full reflect strat this. Maybe going to end up using a hybrid strategy here just because of the lack of the nuke on the Porum. And well, there we are. And Nerdy, that last wave was only 300 some damage, so I think she's gonna get through the remainder of this Kainatsu fight without too much of an issue. Looks like, yep, Coffee and Chocobos. This is a very nice strategy here. Maybe LA you and why those characters are all hanging out there.
So tonight's race has the rescue flag on, and which allows you to pick up characters that you have dismissed. And Coffee and Chocobos wants to make sure that Zeromus isn't moving too quickly for his party, so he picks up a base level Porum who has a very low agility. That means that his other characters will be getting numerous turns off of her one turn, and will just make the fight a lot easier, and it'll make it a lot quicker to defeat Zeromus.
Yes, and as chat is pointing out, looks like gearing up that Porum to be a damage dealer, which close to one of our favorite strats, but we might see at least 3 Zerkers here on Coffee and Chocobo's screen. We'll see what Fu does. Maybe just playing the white mage. A fantastic strategy. Do love Quint. We all love Quint. And everyone else is making it through here. I mean, the one nice thing about this seed so far is outside of Choco, no one else has that hook to be able to go in and check that rat tail. So hopefully they'll be left with either top of tower or the Fey March once they finish up this moon. So we'll see what choices they make. Kind of nerdy. A great job to get through that Kainatsu. Not an easy fight, and here we go. We'll get our Z Sprite momentarily.
And Crystal is out. And tonight we are fighting And that is Creator Miss.
It is a very pretty sprite. Allie mentioned Scala has taken over the sprites and done a phenomenal job, and from Final Fantasy Legend times, there are more Final Fantasy games than I ever imagined. So we have, what, 3 Zerkers it looks like?
And we see Coffee and Chocobos' Foo is eating a counter nuke there.
Maybe hoping it hit the Porum, but Foo's ability to tank magic damage is nearly unparalleled in this. Not the worst person to that hit. Cure 4 coming out very well might just not cast any reflected spells and keep that MP from Foo just to continue with these Cure 4 casts. And as someone pointed out in chat, we still haven't seen a dot done, so as well as being the first person into the Z fight on stream, Coffee and Chocobos very well may be the first person to complete Zeromus of all the numerous runners that we have today.
And KindaNerdyHousewife heading to the Wyvern location, while Gundampilotspaz is heading down to lower lunar subterrane.
And with the levels that they have, I don't think there's going to be any problems with any of these bosses here. That Foo with the nuke, that element Paramore, it looks like actually gotten rid of one of the twins, but I personally don't dislike having this Yang, particularly if you're going to end up using these Zerker strats at the end of the game here.
And we see rocks on Coffee and Chocobo's side.
Missing the edge. He still had enough to survive. That's fortunate, but probably wouldn't have been the big deal breaker. And that is a flash.
GG's to Coffee and Chocobos. And that puts him in first place with an official time of 1 hour, 31 minutes, and 4 seconds.
GG's to Coffee and Chocobos. They have, I believe, as Invin pointed out in chat, they've been doing incredibly well recently. Oh, a huge surprise here. Very well run. That hidden Luca key is going to make for interesting results here. We did just miss the rat-tailed check, and it looks like that led to the Baron key. Choco has some choices to make, but it looks like into the Fate March, so maybe on the right trail here.
And chat pointing out that KindaNerdyHousewife did take a wipe to Plague, but is giving it another try and gets the Star Veil off before Plague does count, so this is now a free fight.
That is a personal favorite strategy. The Star Veil up before the first count. Plague will just repeatedly cast count until either the star veil wears off or you have dropped plague. There's also a clever manipulation where plague will actually die of wound count, but I'd never understood how that works, so I don't know how to explain it.
And we do see another dot done of one of our non-restreamed runners. Jeebus has finished with an official time of 1 minute 33 seconds and 1 hour 33 minutes and 7 seconds.
GG to Jeebs. Very well done. And I believe we are joined by Coffee and Chocobos here. GG, congratulations on your first place.
GG's and thank you.
How did you feel about that seed?
Oh my god. Well, it was kind of a blitz at the beginning, getting all the stuff to make Orm into quite the little murder child, as it were. Starting with that samurai bow and some good stuff to the heron robe to really nail down that Val early.
Yeah, it was an interesting party comp early, and then we had seen that Fu Choco had checked, she was in the bed, but you were the first one of the restreamed runners to get that Sand Ruby. How did you feel when you completed that Earth Crystal and got that reward?
Oh, that was seeing that Sand Ruby and then the Fu. I was like, oh right, I got some Magic Moonman power, and then I looked at his spell list and he had Nuke already, and that was unbelievable. That really broke open everything. Even though Nuke is so overpowered too, he also had Blink pretty soon after that, and I knew with so many Blink enabled folks I could go and take on that Behemoth Gauntlet.
You got up there. You were again the first one to have the willingness to take that on, and even after getting through those behemoths, that K Natsa was a fun boss to see there as well.
Yeah, I thought about taking him on right then and there, but then I looked at my MP and thought, nah, I better back off and save just in case. I didn't want to redo all those behemoths again. That would have been a nightmare.
And how did you feel about all that great equipment for that Cecil you didn't get?
Holy Sword after Holy Sword? Oh yeah, I kept thinking, oh, maybe I'll find him in Earth, maybe I'll check the package. I never got around to checking the package. Did anybody look at that to see what the package character was?
I believe it was, did we see that? I know we did. I don't remember what it was.
Seen it, or at least I don't remember who it was if we saw it. But nobody actually picked the character, so I'm imagining it wasn't the Cecil everyone was hoping for.
Yeah, I just had that Kane, and the spears and weapons for Kane came slowly. But as soon as I got I peeked that defense sword on a whim, and then found the Dragoon spear. Which really helped at the end of that gauntlet. I was sweating bullets at the end there because I was all out of MP for weeks.
That gauntlet was, I mean, particularly when you're not expecting it and it's in that particular location, you really got to be frugal with how you try to take down each one of those bosses.
Yeah, and I forgot about the Red Giants and how their emission was really doing a number on my Kane because I had fire armor still equipped. I didn't find anything good, or I forgot to re-equip him with something a little bit more resistant. I should have taken that Dragoon shield that I found in the Dwarf Castle shops.
Well, PG again, I hear you might be willing to run back. But any other thoughts on the seed?
No, just glad it's over. It's my first time being restreamed. I'm shaking like a leaf here, but get the nerves out of the way, and glad I did well and nailed it in first place, and hope to be a regular contributor as we go forward.
We look forward to seeing more of you. Thank you so much, and GG's.
Thank you, GG's, and take care.
And we see Choco. There's part of me that wonders maybe if we get Choco in here for an interview. He just picked up the Baron key when that done came in, and I wonder if that impacted the decision to go down and take on those Feymarch bosses. I know, you always think about trying to metagame off of when the dones come in.
And we do have a third place finisher. Flurry14 has finished with a time of 1 hour, 37 minutes, and 58 seconds. GG.
And Choco moves into go mode. We saw kind of nerdy the one or two issues as far as some of these moon bosses. They can be very quick. And I've run into that a few of those Villa Ogo, the water hag in a mean spot, punch really hard and really fast, and it looks like she is plotting an alternate course from. We already know that there wasn't much to collect on the moon anyway, so it's very well might be steering her in the correct direction.
And it looks like she is heading down towards the Feymarch. We'll see which of the two bosses she decides to take on first.
Yeah, on the right track. Something I do all the time if I bang my head against something that I can't get through is exactly this, which is go find a greener pasture. And here we see Choco is collecting his crystal, so we'll be making its way on over to Zeromus. And we will have to see. CNC perhaps trying to give us those tunes. As he said, his first time on the restream, so maybe wasn't expecting to hop back in.
And Chocosura quickly warping out of Luca Cave, and will likely be heading up to fight Zeromus soon.
That edge looks like also doing a similar strategy as what we saw from Buffy and Chocobos. Gonna quickly dump one of your party members for someone who's been just hanging out here in the crystal room.
And also decides to drop his Palom and pick up another Porum.
It is funny with all that extra additional fights that you had to do and clearing out the moon. I guess was just not enough XP to get Palom to nuke, and Palom without nuke on the Zeromus fight, you're with the attackers that you have, is better to just transition over to just going with the Zerg strats.
Hey PK, was it leg?
We got the hokey pokey on KindaNerdyHousewife screen.
And Chocosura getting ready to head into his Aromas fight.
Choco. Yeah, that edge. I'm not sure if we saw if Coffee and Chocobos got that second Masamune, but double Masamune Zeus Gauntlet edge is it's strong. Not Crystal Sword Cecil strong, but close.
And we do have a 5th place finisher, Dark Kobold, finishing with a time of 1 hour, 43 minutes, and 29 seconds. GG's to him.
GG Dark Kobold. It looks like that was the Adamant from that Elements fight in the Fey March. I think we're going to see KindaNerdy heal up here and head back down and take on Mother Octo, as Choco is here and ready to I would think make it through this Jerome's fight here.
And Gundampilotspaz deciding he does not want another Holy Sword for his non-existent Cecil, does reset out of that last fight and will hopefully be heading on down to the Earth to take on his Octomammoth fight.
And as Bacon Pie points out in chat, Twisted Flax had finished during our interview with Puffy and Chocobos in 4th place, so GG as well. Them at the time of 1:40:23. We're getting our finishers coming in. With all of these times, you have to think that moon presented too much of a for anyone to avoid. As we saw, this Octomom is the real key to finishing out this race. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, I love to see Porum getting to put up 2,500 damage on his Aromas fight. It's not something you see very commonly. Always fun to let Porum unleash with that bow.
And it looks like Gundampilotspaz is taking on the Gauntlet. Hopefully won't have too many problems. His children have quite a bit of hit points, and yeah, just kind of take out these fights, and then hopefully he goes on down to Famer.
Yeah, you definitely are happy to see that this is the Gauntlet, knowing that you checked, at least check the element spot. You're definitely helping not to have to fight that Karate Man, then have to do the Gauntlet at CPU. This at least eliminates the need for that check, and I believe the Nerdy healing up. I'm not sure if I saw if she finished the Octomam fight or if she's looking for something else at this point. Oh no, it looks like Coffee and Chocobos did make it over to the music.
And we do see rocks on Chocosura's side. And with that, we have a GG.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
Edging Dathis by 1 second. I'm sorry, by 21 seconds. 1 second if you do the math wrong. But in 6th place, Choco finishes at 1:47.21. Dathis 21 seconds later in 7th place. So GG's to both of them.
And see if we can get Chocosura in for an interview.
And we do have the music playing. Thank you again to Coffee and Chocobos for reloading the seed and putting that on. So you'd love to at least get your music, even if it doesn't happen to be required. And I believe we'll be joined by Choco here in a minute.
And we see KindaNerdyHousewife heading down to down Luca Cave. She will be picking up her crystal very shortly.
Yeah, picking the right route. Headed back down to that Fey March. You always like to see that, as we see Dr. Cossack has finished in 8th place. Time of 1:50.20, so GG's to Dr. Cossack as well.
And actually, we did check Drop Dwarf. It was a biomedical repair technician.
And it sounds like we are joined by Choco. GG's, how do you feel about the seed? May be having some technical issues with Choco. Oh, now we can hear. Okay. Just let us know when you're there.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I had my settings backwards for some reason. I don't know.
GG's.
Yeah, GG's. How do you feel about that seed?
I was feeling pretty good until I ran out of checks on Earth, so my thought process was maybe this Luca key is on the moon, but I had a feeling in the back of my mind I was getting moon baited. When I saw the first place finish, I kind of figured it was in Fate March. So basically, I got moon baited.
Yeah, we saw you pick up that Baron key right before the Dun came in. Were you considering going Baron until then you saw that Dun and that led you to the Fate March?
Oh no, I wasn't even thinking about Baron.
Okay.
Because I knew I left the Fate March bosses before I went Moon, so I figured I'd try them first before I went to Baron.
You had a few opportunities there. That top of tower with the D-Mist not paying out. You were by far the first person to make it up there. You were actually the only one to have gotten the hook. So if that rat tail had the value, it just didn't really roll.
Yeah. To be honest, I probably shouldn't even checked that King and Queen spot for Gauntlet. I figured I was making a huge gamble right there. I figured I had to since I found the hook, so I figured why not.
How did you feel about all that equipment for a Cecil that never appeared?
After getting all my characters, I kind of figured I wasn't going to see a Cecil, so I was hoping for one, especially since, Crystal Sword, and I had some other stuff like Zeus Gauntlets, Power of Shirt, rather. But, yeah, it's just sad. No Cecil, unfortunately. He wasn't really needed in the seed, to be honest.
Yeah, your edge was pretty well kitted out, pretty early on. Did appreciate the siren stealing. You were the only one we saw on stream to make that play. Definitely helped with required behemoth fights.
Yeah, my thought process of stealing those sirens was if I didn't find a sand ruby, I knew where food was, but if I didn't find a sand ruby, I was gonna try and gain some levels that way. Originally, I was gonna do a D-Machine grind if I got the sand ruby early enough, but I didn't, so I figured I'd steal the sirens and gain some levels before tackling moon bosses.
Yeah.
And to have that Porum on the team, you got to utilize her cry ability, which you never really get to see.
Yeah, I learned recently that cry actually does help Edge steal those sirens. So. But mainly, I liked how Porum was pretty much carrying my seed, well, her and Edge anyway, with that Artemis Bow and Heroine Rope.
Yeah, she was definitely a murder child.
Oh yeah, she did her job.
Well, thanks for letting us put you on. G again, you have any final thoughts?
Well, yeah, I kind of, when I was at the end, I was kind of looking for an anchor. I didn't really had a good anchor that entire seed. I didn't have a curse ring or anything, so I figured I would go to the city. I was looking for Sid because I saw him down in Eblin Cave, and then I remembered, oh right, I reset out of that, so I never actually got him. So I had to get the other Porum instead. But other than that, I thought I played pretty well tonight, but unfortunately I got moon baited, so it is what it is.
Yep, sometimes rando's just gonna rando.
Exactly.
Thank you again for being one of our restreamed runners. We really appreciate it. We appreciate the good show you put on.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you guys for having me restream. Thanks for all you do, and hope to see you guys next time.
Thank you very much. Take care.
All right, take care.
And while we were having our interview with Chocosura, we do have a 9th place finisher of Tybalt with a time of 1:57.08. GG's to him.
GG Tybalt. We have KindaNerdyHousewife approaching Aromas, and Gundam has found the Luca key. But they are... One is a little bit closer to potentially being done, but Gundam did find the right trail. So they are both, I believe, in go mode here.
Yep, they should both will be both will be finishing up soon.
This is my favorite part of, particularly the timing behind locating this this Luca key is, you know, you're so close to being done, and then the other seeds you just run down here. You gotta fight these trapdoors, and they're, I mean, with these levels they're pretty free, but they're not fast by any means.
Well, and if the wrong character gets targeted, then you've got to stop and light them up, and just doors are rude.
Doors and walls. Nobody's friend in this game.
And we see KindaNerdyHousewife taking on her creator miss. And I think that is every restreamed runner so far has gotten the reflected, or the counter nuke onto their Fusoya.
Oh, something board AI Fu Moon. I guess we have all the planets, or combination of planets and moons. The names for KindaNerdyHousewife. I just put that one together, so I'm obviously gonna click on the update here. Looks like maybe going for a hybrid strat.
Yep, we did see a Star Veil come out, and I do believe her Palom does have new.
And 5 gifted subs from Coffee and Chocobos, our first place finisher and restreamed runner. Thank you very much. Burning those cookies into gifted subs, definitely appreciated. As we make our way towards the finish here. As Choco said, it was sort of an issue for all of the runners that we had on stream, was not having a great anchor, which was definitely why we saw the other ones pick up trade out that Porum. And I don't know what it is about this seed, but the KindaNerdyHousewife as well is probably one level away from having nuke on that Porum. Nobody managed that one final bit of XP to get Porum to where you would like Porum to be. You get into this Aromas fight.
Yeah, and that lack of an anchor for all the gear that we did see, I don't think we saw a cursed ring on any of our players' sides.
No, and the shop checks, I don't think we saw many shop checks, but nobody with a curse ring. Oh, anchoring, majority of the time you don't have to spend much thought on it, but in this seed in particular, everybody ended up doing the moon kind of with a decently leveled character in the middle spot.
And we do have a 10th place finisher. Micro Corgs has finished with a time of 2 hours, 2 minutes, and 16 seconds. GG's to him.
GG to Corgs. It's like, as long as he still has those Cure 3s, 27 Ether 2s, don't think MP is going to be too big of an issue here for Kinda Nerdy, but just making sure that your Zerkers are getting through these big bangs is going to be the only concern. Otherwise, you have the damage that you're going to make it through here. And there's another nuke on Fu. I don't know what it is about Creator Miss. Not a fan of this Fu.
Getting back at Fu for all those upcos.
So, the vanilla brilliancy of one-shotting and Jenica Strife raiding with a party of 13. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Gundampilotspaz has picked up his crystal and will be entering his Zeromus fight very shortly.
Warping out. And we'll be making it into Zeromus. This was, you know, of all those potentially mean moon fights, I can't stress enough the strategy of, you know, getting out of there if you don't have the right anchor for a certain fight or two, because that's I mean, you know, no matter how much you play this game, I stress enough how important it is to, you know, just try to keep moving, bang my head against the wrong boss for 30 minutes and then realize that, you know, now I'm 30 minutes off making another check.
And it looks like Gundampilotspaz is looking to see if he can find a cursed ring, or see who is in the right spot to be the most helpful as an agility anchor.
In the T Pro setting, unfortunately, the curse rings can only be in one of the gated shops, so it wouldn't necessarily appear there. And Fu is going to be the closest to an anchor, as we saw. That's why is in the middle for Kinda Nerdy. Taking advantage of that buy flag that we saw at Coffee and Chocobos and Choco do is also a pretty decent strat, but I believe should see with all of this additional equipment and Creatomus finally not nuking Fu, hopefully not going to be too much further trouble.
And we do have an 11th place finisher. Rumblefish82 has finished with a time of 2 minutes, 5 seconds, and 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 42 seconds. GG's to them.
GG to Rumble. Looks like we are in a medio phase for Kinda Nerdy. Should be direct casting a nuke. My favorite strategies once you're into that medio phase. You are going to get this counter nuke, but hopefully the damage should be able to pull through. This is one of the reasons I'm a huge Yang fan, is that HP growth, the more experience you get, is very nice to see.
And with that quake, Creator Miss goes down on KindaNerdyHousewife's side, and she has finished 12th place with a time of 2 hours, 7 minutes, and 40 seconds. GG's. And I do believe we are joined by her. GG's team.
Hello, thank you. That was very difficult from the beginning to the end.
2 hours, 7 minutes, and 40 seconds. GG's. Yeah, it was kind of a rude flag set tonight.
Yeah, it's not. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just agreeing with that. Go right ahead, KindaNerdy.
I was very sad to see that Kanazo in the Bahamut spot, so I quit out of that the first time. I'm just really glad that I decided not to bother with Ogopogo and Mom Bomb.
Yeah, they could have actually led you down some pretty nasty rabbit holes.
But it was more slow and steady. I feel like there was a lot of places I could have sped up, but I did okay. I'll take my 12th place. It was a difficult seed, and I'm pretty happy with how I did.
Either twos and those Cure 3s came in real big, and I mean, how do you feel leaving that K-Not-So fight and then running directly into that alt gauntlet?
Yeah, I actually was happy about that because I saw Blue Turtle Ban and I was like, I'm gonna need a few more levels before I can take it on. And then I ran into the alt gauntlet and I'm like, I'm okay with this because this will give me the levels I need and I need to do it anyway. So that actually made me pretty happy.
Oh, and we saw that you had that hourglass that you were kind of saving for the gauntlet, and it helped you kind of get adjusted and healed up and everything during the halfway through the fight.
Oh yeah, I was super scared of that. I'm like, okay, I have that hourglass. If I can just get through this one fight, I'll throw the hourglass next time and heal up, and luckily it worked.
You feel about all that nice gear for that Cecil?
Yeah, you always get the nice Cecil gear when he's not around.
Well, thank you so much for being one of our restreamed runners. Awesome job, and we greatly appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me, and I'll see y'all next time.
GG's.
And while we were having an interview, we had a few more finishes. Xenocat has finished with a time of 2 hours, 9 minutes, and 17 seconds. Half a second later was Ground Flyer, again with 2 minutes, 9 seconds, and 17 seconds. And in 15th place, we have Lord Bob Bree with 2 hours, 10 minutes, and 37 seconds.
0.5 of a second separating those two. GG's to them. And Gundam here is looking through this Bromus fight. Gundam down to just the cane. He is zerged. Should be able to get 2 to 3 hits off before the second Meteo. He'd have to dodge this one.
And does dodge it.
Wow.
And GG's to him with a photo finish there. With a time of 2 hours, 12 minutes, and 12 seconds.
GG's to Gundam, the last of our restreamed runners, with the Kane Meteor dodge. You're not gonna see that too often, but that was a very clutch sidestep from Kane on that Meteor cast.
And we'll see if we can't get him in for an interview.
Yes, and while we're checking out on Gundam, once again, big thanks to our restream team, Leggy, Starscream, doing the tracking, a phenomenal job in a very difficult task, and Smapety doing the stream. And Allisele, as always, it's a pleasure to get to watch other people play Free Enterprise with you.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure. And with that, I do believe we are joined by Gundampilotspaz. GG's.
Oh, thank you. Although I can't say I feel good about that finish at the end there.
Even more iconic duo, Kane and dodging a Meteor with 140 health left.
Yeah, that's one that I'm gonna remember, but it's not one I'm gonna feel good about. I mean that last bit, I don't know. I looked over at Discord quick, and I hit up one last time to not nuke Kane, and I nuked Horum, and that could have cost me that whole fight. So, one click, right? Yeah, but I feel pretty good about the rest of the seed. Obviously, my routing wasn't perfect. When I came back to the underground from the D machine, I almost did clear Feymarch, but I just decided to head to the moon instead after getting through Dwarfcast. And of course, my routing would probably have been different if I got the Luca key at that point instead of the last.
No, we basically saw very similar routing. You were the only one to do the D machine, but everybody basically, after doing Dwarf, something like that, decided that they were going to go up and get through those behemoths to Cave Bahamut. And then everybody sort of hit those lunar subterranean bosses and had varying levels of success with those. Those were not the nicest ones out there. But the right move at some point, is to just head down and those fights, which were a little more straightforward down in the Feymarch.
Yeah, I just figured it was Octoman. Octoman's gonna hit hard there. He's gonna be really fast. And it might be a time sink that I'm better off going to the moon, since there were a lot of freebies left, and I did find that the water hag, so that was at least one free fight down there. Yeah, but my major time loss was bouncing off that evil wall. Can't tell you what I was thinking there, because I should have just backroad everyone, and I probably would have been able to get through it. And then wiping the Ogopogo. Probably the same thing if I just did reorganize my party at that point. And then another silly thing. Again, I don't know what was up with my thumb today. I just was over-clicking a little bit, because before I went into the gauntlet and I fixed my party, I accidentally backroad my melee characters. So that slowed me down a little bit there. So like a bunch of those little time losses, but at least everyone seemed to finish at this, except for the leaders. Everyone's finished in that same gap between, just like right after 206 or so, a bunch of finishers. So yeah, don't feel bad about it, but definitely a lot of places where I feel like I could have made up a bunch of time.
Well, again, GG's. It was a pleasure to watch. And yeah, it was a great time.
Thanks so much.
Thank you, and with that, that is the last of our restreamed runners. We will go ahead and try and find a place to send y'all tonight.
I believe we have someone picked out. A member of our community, Silverfire, is practicing some free enterprise for a charity marathon, according to me reading exactly what Safety posted in the channel. So big fan of Sil, another commentator you're probably familiar with. So let's all give Silverfire a big free enterprise hug, and thank you again for participating. Allie, if you have anything left to say, I'm done for the night.
Just thank you so much for coming out, and remember, tomorrow is the first of our club races. Be here at 11:30. We look forward to seeing you. Have a great night.